Now live. Okay, thank you. Okay, Judith, we are now live, I believe.
I can't see us.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm showing live for the last 5 seconds.
Oh, yay. Exactly. Fabulous. Exciting.
Yeah, sorry everybody who's there. We've had a bit of a technical glitch, but we have now got through it and we are now ready to introduce Judith to you.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for having me. And my cat's decided to come and join me as well. So there we go. It's always exciting, the joys of live. And thank you for those who've been waiting. So I met Vanessa a couple of weeks ago at an online event, and she then got in touch with me to ask me to come and speak and share some of my stuff with you. And I know that Transitions UK is all about helping younger people move on, transition in your life, to take steps forward. And if you have any questions, there is a live chat in the YouTube, so feel free to use that. I will type something in there now, just a hello, so that you can see where it is, and hopefully that it works. I'm not going to pretend that I have experience of knowing what it's like to be in care. I don't. I am not going to pretend that I grew up in particularly difficult circumstances. I didn't. In fact, in many ways, I was hugely blessed and had a very middle-class upbringing. Right? But I do know what it's like to grow up in a household full of uncertainty. I do know what it's like to hold a lot of pain inside me and confusion, and for that to come out as anger and frustration. I do know what it's like to be misunderstood, to feel like I don't belong. And I also know what it's like to have thoughts of not wanting to be here in this life anymore, to experience what it's like to live after someone has decided to take themselves out of this life. So I want to share with you some of the tools and techniques that I have come across in my life that have helped me manage my stress, my overwhelm, my suicidal thoughts, that have helped pull me up when I've been in a space of despair, of frustration, of anger. And I want to share these tools with you so that hopefully, as you are transitioning, because transitions are challenging, sometimes transitions are delightful and exciting and fabulous and wonderful. Right? When we get that job, or when we meet someone who's going to help us through life, right? Those transitions can be fantastic. But obviously, Transitions UK is set up to help you through the more challenging transitions in your life, because that is very often where we need extra support. So if you are watching live, please feel free to say hello. Let me know who you are. If you have any questions, please feel free to put a question into the chat box. And if I miss it, I know Vanessa will bring my attention back to it. And I would love to know what would be useful for you. So it says here, you know, to introduce a little bit of who I am to you. I am a vocal confidence and communication specialist and a voice vibration sound healer. Now you might ask, what on earth is any one of them? And how on earth did you end up doing that? So a little bit of my background. Part of the way that I escaped the uncertainty of having a dad who, you know, quite frankly, drank too much and was a serial adulterer and was never really around, and therefore a very unhappy mum. A lot of the way that I escaped that was through acting. So I've loved acting my whole life, and actually all I ever wanted to do since I was a kid was be an actress. I partly blame the Kids from Fame, which was on telly at the time. I am a child of the 70s and 80s. So I actually did end up becoming an actor. So I spent 20 years as a classically trained professional actor. Now, that doesn't mean what most people think it means. It doesn't mean limousines and glamour and hobnobbing with Brad Pitt and I don't know who else. It mostly means standing on street corners, handing out flyers for companies. It means squirting perfume in department stores. It means tutoring English. It means having to be really resilient. And if you're lucky, getting an acting job. And if you're really lucky, like if you're in the top 5% of actors, that acting job actually pays you £350 a week. Right? So acting's not the glamorous lifestyle you might think it is, unless you're up in that tiny top percentage. So you always need to have other skills. And as well as always wanting to be an actor, I was always an intuitive or natural healer. So I always massaged people. I always worked with energy. And even as a kid, I seemed to be the person who helped people have those challenging conversations. I'd be the mediator. I'd be the one sitting in the middle going, well, wait a minute. I remember it was in middle school, so I'd have been between 8 and 11. And again, this is back in the 80s, and some counties back then tried the more American system of having an infant school, a middle school, and then secondary school. So I'd have been about 9, and 2 friends came in from the playground and they were arguing, and I was sat there going, whoa. I said, no, wait a minute, but you just said that. She said, no, she just said, I said, well, no, she actually said that. What did you hear? And she said, oh, well, I heard this. I said, oh. Well, and I mediated that conversation. Actually, that's something I still do today in the work that I do now. So I've always worked with helping other people express themselves. I've always worked with expressing myself, whether that's on stage or as a public speaker. Even in secondary school, I was part of the public speaking team, which was terrifying because I was at the local state school. And the first public speaking competition I ever went to, I was the representative from the local state school, and then the other 2 were from the posh girls' school, the private schools that surrounded us. Absolutely, I was just like, oh my God, talk about imposter syndrome.
It must have been difficult.
Oh, and there was real rivalry as well. So especially with one of the schools, because their school grounds backed onto our school grounds. So speaking, having the ability to speak up, encouraging others to speak up. And also as an actor, lots of people think that an actor, our job is to be false. Our job is to pretend. But actually an actor's job is to find the truth. So that is a lot of the skills that I brought into what I do now. And I just want to say a quick hello to Jack and Letitia, who've tuned in here live with us. So Jack, Letitia, anyone else who joins us, if you have any questions as we go through, please feel free to ask. So I've also brought those natural healing skills, the natural coaching skills, and the acting skills. I then qualified as a massage therapist and an energy healer. I then qualified as a life coach. So I brought all of those together to do what I do now. And all of those skills have really helped me be able to manage my extreme emotions, right? One of the joys of my life is I feel everything. Right? So I feel ecstatics and delights, and I feel the depths of despairs and the angers.
It's so normal though, isn't it, to have all those feelings constantly, given any difficult any situation, really.
Yeah. And so what I want to share with those of you who are watching today is how can you, when you're in those moments of stress, when you're maybe in those moments of feeling low, or you're like in a sort of like hyper excited mode, but you've got to go to a job interview and that's not professional sounding, like how you can manage your state, how you can reduce stress, how you can increase your positivity, and how you can maybe detach yourself from emotions that aren't getting you the results that would be useful or getting you the results that would like. You know, I don't know anyone watching, I don't know about you, Vanessa. I can't remember whether I kicked the hole in the door or whether I punched the hole in the door. But anyway, in my time, I have made a hole in a door because of my frustration and anger and not being able to manage my emotions. And it's tough, right? Because a lot of the time we learn to hold on to
Yeah.
and not show how we're feeling.
I'm more internal. So where you're talking about that kind of external aggression of hitting a hole in the wall, I do it inside instead, and I hold it really in, and then it just gets really, I don't know, it just builds, doesn't it?
It builds. And then sometimes it builds and it suddenly comes out in different ways. And sometimes that's in an explosion. There was a phase when I was a teenager where I used to get so angry and frustrated, but I didn't want to let it out because I didn't want to give my mum anything else to worry about. So I would dig my nails, and I've always had, actually, I just cut them the other day, so they're quite short for me at the moment. I've always had really long and strong nails, so I'd dig my nails into my hands, like really tight, and sometimes until they'd bleed, but often until they'd bruise, just to release my frustration. Now we call that self-harming. That wasn't a phase of me. We didn't know that.
No, I do that sometimes. I self-soothe, so I'll kind of rub myself, like just as a kind of, I'm really frustrated and I don't know how to deal with it. I really feel like this is going to be useful to anybody.
You know, so back in the 80s, you know, if a child did that to themselves now, a teenager did that to themselves now, you know, it would be considered self-harming. And I never did any other kind of anything. There weren't websites to go and find out about this stuff. So how can you manage those big emotions, and how can you communicate easily or more easily? So I'd love to know if there's any challenges that anyone watching is having, particularly with communication. That might be an easier thing for you to talk about openly, or if you have like emotional challenges, then feel free, if you're feeling comfortable, to ask me questions about that, and I will hopefully be able to give you some specific feedback or tools. So let's talk first of all about being able to communicate. So very often, if we're in an emotional state, it doesn't matter which emotion, it's less easy to communicate what we really need. Often because we're in the emotion of the thing, and very often we're in the emotion of that thing and the similar thing that happened before, and a similar thing that happened before that, and a similar thing that happened before that. So we're carrying our emotions from someone or something else to a different situation.
Definitely, we relate it, don't we? We're kind of like, oh, I remember feeling like this, and it's then and then and then, and these are all the bad things that happened in those scenarios. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And the way I describe this is, I say your voice is a reflection of every experience or emotion that you've ever had, imagined, or witnessed. That's quite a big statement, so I'll repeat it so that you can understand it. So your voice, so when you speak, what you are saying and how you are saying it reflects all the emotions or experiences that you've ever had in the past, or that you've seen happen to other people, or that you've imagined might happen. For example, if you have had a bad relationship with any authority figures, right? So I had a challenging relationship with my dad. He wasn't really much of an authority figure, although he tried to assert his authority. He just wasn't there a lot, so I didn't really respect him. But then he'd be like, you need to respect me. So I would carry that kind of feeling of uncertainty and defiance to, for example, I don't know, the deputy head of our school, who was quite a disciplinarian. So when I was speaking to him, my voice would carry the same sort of reflection of either defiance or fear, depending on what mood I was in. But it wasn't just the deputy head. It was actually how I also felt about my dad, or how I felt about anyone who was trying to stop me from doing something that I felt I wanted to do. And that can then carry on to a manager at work. That can carry on to... So I invite you to look at your voice and the situations that you find challenging speaking in, and ask yourself, is it because it's that person? Or is it because it's that kind of situation? Yeah. And it's a reflection of the experiences of the past. Then what we need to do is be able to detach from those emotions. Because actually, say you are being told, I'm trying to think of an experience I had. I was working as a temp, one of my many jobs when I was also an actor. I was working as a temp, as a receptionist in a hedge fund in St. James's. So very posh, stupid amounts of money, and they would keep all their employees in by supplying them with breakfast and lunch and supper. And I said to my manager, so who covers me when I go out for lunch? And she said, oh no, we provide lunch. I said, yes, but who covers me when I go out for lunch? And this is before I'd done all my sound healing work, right? So hopefully you heard a little bit of the defiance in my voice there. She's like, well, no. I said, no, you don't understand. It's my lunch break. I have a legal right to an hour's lunch break, and I leave the building for my lunch break. I get out and go and get fresh air. And of course, because I was being a little bit more defensive in my voice, so she then got defensive in her voice.
Escalation. So normal, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah. But I wasn't aware that part of my defensiveness was nothing to do with her. It's my pattern of feeling other people in the past have tried to stop me from doing what I want to do. When we have awareness of what our vocal patterns are, of how our emotions impact our voice, then you have the ability to be able to go, right, I'm coming into this situation afresh. I'm coming into this situation new. So I encourage you, when it comes to challenging conversations or anything like that, to try and before you, if you know that you think it's going to be a challenging conversation, before you go in, try to detach yourself, go, right, this is this situation, this is this person. It's nothing to do with my past experiences. We're all, as human beings, one of the challenges we have is that we're always afraid people are going to judge us one way or the other. And if we have an experience of being judged negatively in a situation for something, we will assume that everyone's going to judge us negatively. If we have an experience of being judged positively, we will assume we're going to be judged positively. And we put all those prejudices, those prejudging, that's what prejudice means. We put all those prejudices onto the people or situations we go into. So all of this lies under your voice and how you're representing yourself. And this in itself can create a lot of stress. So first of all, I'm going to give you a couple of tools to manage how to approach conversations, and then a couple of tools to manage the stress so that you can help yourself be in a better state. So
sorry about that, it's the dogs.
Dogs are good. And do you have any questions about this, Vanessa, before I go into any kind of a blurb?
No, it's just really resonating with me. I recently had a conversation with someone, and I really felt like it was like a school teacher, and the way they were talking to me in that kind of way that really made me feel like, I don't know, and it's probably everything you're saying, bringing back memories of people speaking to you in that way that made you feel those certain ways when they did.
Yeah.
So it's really resonating right now.
Yeah. And this is the whole thing of, so your voice is a reflection of every experience or emotion you've ever had, imagined, or witnessed, because it gets held in your subconscious brain and in your body's cell memory. Right? Our subconscious brain is really powerful, and it takes us back to when we were primeval and living in tribes, and it's really important to stay a part of the tribe. And so the fear, we look out for the things that might be dangerous for us, and that stays in our body cells, and our brain and our ears and our eyes are looking out for all the signals that it might not be safe for us to speak up. So that then sometimes stops us from saying what we really need to say because we're in fear. So the most important thing is to have clarity. So if you're approaching challenging situations, be really clear on what it actually is, particularly if there's a problem or if there's something that you need. Be clear on what you really need. Be clear on what the real problem is. Because when you have clarity of thought, you create clarity of words. You become much clearer on what you need to say. And when you have clarity of where you stand, it becomes so much easier to know the way forward. For example, I had a client who, he was really stressed at work. There'd been a lot of changes. He had a new manager. He felt like the new manager was treating him like rubbish. His old friend had been promoted and become his manager on a different level. And she had suddenly become really dictatorial and wasn't giving him the time of day. He was just going, I'm just going to leave this job. It was like this and this and this. And he hadn't said anything to his manager because of those emotions that we were speaking about, right? He had so much going on in him. He was afraid that if he said anything to the manager, he'd just be a barrel of accusations. He'd just be like, well, this and then he'd lose his job.
Yeah. No win situation, worried about kind of being confrontational and negative, and instead held it all in.
Exactly. And so, this could be, it doesn't have to be a manager at work. It could be a landlord. It could be a relation. It could be a friend that you're having challenges with. And you're bringing everything that you've let built up. And like Vanessa was saying, you keep it inside you rather than saying, and this actually is one of the tools for also helping managing stress and overwhelm. So instead of keeping everything inside you as it's happening, if we say it when there's first a problem, then someone else knows that there's a problem. But what we do is we hold on to it and don't tell other people there's a problem.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, the work I did with him was to get underneath what all the problems were. I was like, right, and underneath all the problems were, I just don't know where I stand anymore. It's so simple, really clear. So if there's something going on for you, it can be challenging to start with, but it's a really good process to like go, okay, well, these are all the things that I'm frustrated with or annoyed with, but what's really the one thing that's causing this? Because he could take to his manager, since all the changes, I just don't know where I stand in the team anymore.
Yeah.
And his manager can do something about that. His manager can't do, well, you make me feel like this and she makes me feel like that and la 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 is putting this work on me. But I don't know where I stand anymore is something the manager can help him with.
And I imagine as well, a lot of people who might be listening to this, actually a lot of the conflict isn't just managers, but probably friendships. And that same approach would be pretty similar, where they're falling out with friends or relatives or those kind of negative relationships. Yeah,
anything, any relationships. So it really doesn't matter whether it is, I used this process on a guy, I was shopping for paint in, some the DIY store. And I'd had a problem with the paint, and there was an old gentleman who clearly worked there sort of 2 afternoons a week. And he's like, and I was really frustrated because I'd been spending a lot of money and I didn't have the money, and those my emotions. So I was defensive. And he said, well, I don't know because I don't work here very much. And I said, well, well, you're meant to be the expert. And I could feel myself getting into accusation. And luckily, this was at the time where I was doing this work. And I just went, oh, wait a minute. This isn't going to cause a solution.
Yeah.
So I said, well, look, you know more than I do because you work here 2 afternoons a week. You know more than me what might be possible.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't even have to be a long-term relationship. It can be those, someone who you've got into or something with. And actually, by the end of that conversation, we were both laughing because I changed my state.
Yeah.
I felt like I was the wronged party, right? I bought the paint. It wasn't what it was meant to be. So I felt like I was the wronged party, and I was trying to be like, no, but I need justice. But actually, me approaching it like that wasn't going to get me the result I wanted.
Yeah.
So then when I got clarity, I was like, right, what do I want here? I just want to know what my options are and whether it was the color of paint or whether it was because I changed the finish. It's a stupid thing. But as soon as you get clarity on what's really important to you, it's much easier to then approach a conversation. So have clarity, preferably before you go into the situation. Another thing I would offer you is always try to assume both innocence and ignorance on the part of the other person. So what I mean by that is, if there's something going on for you and you feel like, for example, when Vanessa and I were talking just there, I butted in. And say there's someone in your life who does that to you a lot, and you feel like it's personal. You feel like they're always putting you down and that you never get a word and that your opinion doesn't matter. If you've never said anything, they don't know that.
Yeah. Definitely. It's actually, I'm the type of person, because I'm a big talker, I'm actually really extrovert. My extrovert score is really high, and I am more likely to be the one doing the interrupting, but it's unintentional. It's just there on my head, and then I want to go, but someone's talking and you're like, no, oh gosh, I didn't mean to be rude. It's just because we're all different, aren't we?
It's because we're all different. And as we were saying, if you've got all these emotions and you've let them build up and you've kept them in and you've never said anything, then the person you've got a problem with, especially if this is a repeated thing, they're not going to know because you haven't said anything. So assume innocence and ignorance on their part. And this is a great phrase I'm going to give you here. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's a tendency when we're together that when I'm speaking, you cut me off. Right? So for example, I'm not sure if you're aware, but, and then the problem, and never say always, never say you always, because people don't always do something and it gets them automatically defensive. So something like, there's a tendency, or when we were just speaking, or you cut me off just now. So create something that's solid and that there's evidence for. That makes me feel like whatever it makes you feel like. So for example, I'm not sure if you're aware, but you cut me off just now. That makes me feel like you think my opinion's worthless. Is that what you intended? Is that what you meant?
That's probably the powerful bit, actually, isn't it? Because I've had that before, where I've been speaking to someone and I've done communications training, and they say this is how that made me feel. And what they've then gone and said is, I'm not in control of your emotions. And you're like, oh, that's what I thought I was supposed to say.
No. Was that what you meant? Is that what you meant? Because that gives them the opportunity to go, no, I didn't mean that. I didn't even know. I'm sorry. I had no idea. So, and also that's why you start it with, I'm not sure if you're aware.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're assuming innocence and ignorance. And that helps take away from any defensiveness that might happen. This is useful for giving you more confidence, because it means you know that you can go into the conversation not accusing anyone of anything. So if you're someone who is reluctant to have a challenging conversation, or you avoid conflict, or then this is a really great way of just going like, I'm not sure if you're aware, but this is what happened. And you can even cut out, if you want to cut out the it made me feel, if that makes you feel too vulnerable, you can cut out the it made me feel. You can just go, I'm not sure if you're aware, but you just cut me off in the middle of my sentence and give me a chance to finish. Did you mean to do that? So you don't even have to put your feelings into it if your feelings make you too vulnerable. So hopefully that gives you a couple of little things that you can use. So have clarity, and approach something trying to detach yourself from the emotions, and assume innocence on the other person's behalf. I know it's really difficult and challenging, particularly if you've been in a similar situation a lot, but we all have the ability to change our energy. We all have the ability to take something into a different direction.
Yeah.
And the third part of that is obviously say something early on.
Yeah,
because if
don't let it build up.
Don't let it build up. Yeah. It's all right. I'm an interactor. I'll finish this thought and then I'll come back to that. So say it early on. Don't let it build up, because if the other people don't know, they can't do anything about it. And if you say it earlier on, it's always easier to fix than later down the line.
Yeah.
The thing I was going to say is, don't worry about apologizing to me about cutting in, because I'm also a cutter inner. But this brings up something else, which is different communication styles. And it does depend on whether you're extrovert or introvert or a whole load of other stuff, which we don't have time for today, because I want to get onto the managing your energy and changing your state and changing your emotions.
Excited for that, I'll be honest, because I know what it is.
But the best thing I ever did was go out with a guy who's completely wrong for me. We're still really good friends. I love him to pieces, but we just were not matched as a couple. And he is a complete introvert, and his communication style is transactional. So his communication style is, I speak, you listen. You speak, I listen.
Right.
Is like, I literally sit on my hands and bite have my teeth together to keep my tongue behind my teeth, because that makes him feel valued. That's a conversation to him. My style of conversation is interaction, is inspirational rather than transactional. So where we pick up on each other's ideas and cut across and go, oh yeah, because but he finds that impossible. So again, if you are having communication challenges with someone, it might not be that they hate you.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I was so much older before I found that one out. Like, I have a really weak communication style, where if other people is that one, because it's so opposite to me, I'm just like left, like I really struggle. So I've learned that, okay, that's why I'm feeling this way now. I'm feeling like this because they're that type of communication style. And I'll even sometimes give them the space to talk, because I realize I'm really direct and to the point. So I'll do this, because I'll give them the space to talk so that they don't get upset, and then I pick up on all those like negative signals that way.
Exactly. So if you're someone who's more sensitive and you find it difficult to deal with someone, you think someone hates you because you find they bark at you, they probably don't. It's probably just that they are a very direct person. They like bullet points, they think quickly, and they just want to get to the end result. It's nothing personal against you. It's just the way they communicate. And if you're someone who likes to tell a long story and
No joking.
right? Me and my mum, I have to make time when I call my mum, because I have to go, she's going to want to tell me stuff, and it's probably stuff I've heard before, and it'll be about people who I don't know and I don't care about, and I just want to ask her what time dinner is, right? So when you start learning that different people have different communication styles, it's much easier to not take things personally. And this is really, really important. There's a whole structure of coaching that I did, and one of the main ethoses that they have, which I love, is it's not personal, it's structural. And that goes for everything in life. So what you've been through in your life has created the way you approach things. So that becomes your structure. And if your structure doesn't match someone else's structure, and you're both stuck in your structures, you'll never come to agreement. And so it's about and we can only change ourselves, which is really annoying. And as a teenager, if anyone had ever told me that, I'd have just gone, well, I don't want to change, I don't need to change, because I was a little bit stubborn and belligerent, and would punch or kick holes through doors, so, but the only person we can change is ourselves. We can't force anyone else to change. So if you're wanting to get results in the way you're communicating and it's not working, maybe have a little look at the way you're approaching things and try changing one little thing and see if that helps. Something that will help you do that is managing your energy state. And this is not just for conversations. So what I'm going to share with you now is about how to improve your energy, how to manage stress, how to change your state from, if you're in a stress mode, to a more calm mode, if you're in a slightly down mode, to a slightly more uplifted space. And this also is a really great way of exploring your emotions and being able to release your emotions without having to talk about it, without having to punch or kick holes in doors, without having to do damage to yourself, without having to shout at other people. And this is the power of your voice vibration.
I've literally put in the comments, this is going to get really exciting now.
Fabulous. And I want to say hi to Mary and Jasmine, who've also joined us. So yeah, the power of your voice vibration. So as I said earlier, your voice is a reflection of every emotion or experience you've ever had, imagined, or witnessed. And those emotions and experiences are held in your physical body. They're held in your cell memory, right? Like if you can ride a bike and then you don't ride a bike for 10 years and then someone gives you a bike, you can get on the bike and ride a bike. Once you've learned to skip, it's really hard to forget how to skip. Right? So your body has cell memory. It's how actors remember where they're moving on stage. It's through repetition. And your voice also connects. It's physical, and it's on, let's like go physics. It's sound waves, and they move through your body. And I want to demonstrate this with you so you don't think I'm just talking a whole load of hippie weird nonsense. Right? This stuff does get a little spiritual if you want it to, but it doesn't have to, right? Because it's also literally physical. So I'm going to invite you to just place your hand on your chest. So those of you who are watching live, those of you who are watching this in 10 years time, however long this stays up for, right, place your hand on your chest. And
I'm going to mute for this bit, okay? So
We'll
that I can do it.
Yeah. And also so that our voices don't clash on the recording. And close your eyes, because it helps you just take away any distractions from outside of you. And breathe, right? Breath is the first most important thing. It's the center of all meditations. And if you're trying to change your state, then your breath can be used as for that. So I just want you to breathe. And as you breathe, just with your eyes closed, feel the breath coming in and out of your body. Feel your body expanding and contracting. Now, you may find it a little bit weird, but I want you to imagine that your lungs are a balloon. And when you're breathing out, breathe out through your mouth and imagine that balloon, that your lungs are shrinking. So you should feel your body coming in. And when you breathe in, imagine those lungs, they're filling up like a balloon. So feel your body expanding. So as you breathe out through your mouth, everything shrinks. As you breathe in through your nose, everything expands. To help that inhalation, to get yourself a really lovely, calming inhalation, I want you to imagine your favorite smell. And whatever your favorite smell is, I'm not going to mention mine because my favorite smell might disgust you. So just imagine your favorite smell and really allow that to give you a full breath, and then exhale through your mouth. Lovely. And the next step of this, which starts to connect your voice, is on any note, any tone. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong in sounding. Just hum. Just keep humming while I'm talking. Play with that hum if you like. This is the reason I've asked you to place your hand on your chest. So keep humming as I'm speaking, and just play and feel the physical vibration of your voice in your body. Now, you may not feel it in your chest. You may feel it in your lips, in your nose, in your sinuses, in the back of your neck, in your jaw. Just play, and then play up and down. And you may find as you go to those higher notes, your lips really tingle and tickle, and it makes you laugh. That's okay. It's good. Laughter is one of the best sounds there is. So play. Lovely. And you will have felt your voice vibration, and you will have also felt the higher notes vibrate higher in your body and the lower notes vibrate lower in your body. So don't worry, Vanessa, I'm not going to ask you to carry on sounding. If you want to unmute yourself, if you have any comments.
Again, feel how it changes how you feel. That you I picked up, in my mood picked up.
Yes, because you're giving yourself time. You are literally physically changing your vibration. So when I talk about like change your vibration, man, it's not all about hippie stuff. It's physically changing your vibration. You are creating energy in your body. So I'm going to talk first about how this creates energy, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of information around how it can help you release emotions. So there's 2 different ways you can change your energy. You can increase your energy and you can calm your energy. If you are wanting to increase your energy, so if you're feeling sluggish, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling a little depressed, then there's 2 ways you can do this. Through your breath, if you want to wake your brain up, so I often do this sort of mid-afternoon, sat at my computer, you can do a short, sharp inhalation through your nose and imagine you're sending oxygen straight to your brain. So you just go, and it goes, and it really gives you a brain wake up. If you're feeling tired in your body, do the same thing, but through pursed lips. And it really feels like it's going straight into your body. So you can wake up your energy through your breath. You can also calm your energy through your breath, which is by doing what we were doing before, which is the long exhalation through your mouth and inhalation through your nose. So that will calm you because it will slow down your heart rate. How do we use sound to do this? Well, we use the different pitches. So again, if you're feeling frenetic and you're really stressed and everything's up here, this might be stress, it could be anger, it could be anything that's got you like irritated, or just you're a little bit all over the place, or anxious and you just, everything's high. Then place your hand on your heart and do that heart hum. Literally sounding the lower notes, the lower tones, and whatever that is for you. Like, I've got a really wide range, so my notes might be too low for you. That's okay. Just wherever in your range. So just hum. And the reason you put your hand on your heart or on your upper chest is because that's a physical signal to your body as well. Like, okay, I'm coming out of my head into my body. And you hum the lower tones because the sound waves are literally longer and flatter and slower. And by doing this, and by doing the slow breathing, you reduce your heart rate. And when you reduce your heart rate, you reduce the amount that adrenaline is pumping through your body. And so if adrenaline is going slower, your brain's getting less adrenaline chemicals, and your brain is thinking, oh, wait a minute, I might not be in danger. I could be safe. So then your brain sends messages to your body, stop sending adrenaline. So by changing your breath, by humming the lower sounds, you're self-soothing in a way. Vanessa was talking about earlier how she would stroke her hands to self-soothe. This is like giving yourself a gentle massage from the inside, because you're physically vibrating. You're giving all your internal organs, you're giving them a little gentle calming.
It's so important now as well, because anxiety is really high.
Yeah.
Like everyone feels a bit unsure in so many different situations in their lives.
Yeah.
Like for instance, some of the things I hear people talk about is, what am I going to do for Christmas?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Are we going to be in lockdown again? And all these really anxious things they haven't got control of. This could be a useful mechanism for dealing with that.
Really useful for anxiety. And this brings me nicely onto the next way to use sound, actually, to release your emotions. Especially, we've been through a whole year of high stress, which has mean there's been a lot more anxiety, there's been a lot more pressure, and there's been a lot more depression. So I'm just going to give you the sounds to use to bring yourself up. And instead of the low sounds, those are the high sounds. So if you're feeling tired or sluggish, or if you're feeling a bit like, you just can't cope, then hum quicker and higher. And you can't help it, but your energy starts building. And also it feels a little bit silly. So you start laughing, and laughter is the most positive sound. It's it's more contagious than coronavirus, all right?
Sorry. Definitely.
So if you're humming away to yourself, like, oh my God, this feels ridiculous, and you start laughing, that's the most positive thing that you can do, because laughter then creates endorphins and gets all the positive chemicals going around your body. So even if the humming on the higher, faster sounds makes you feel silly, it's really good to do to bring you out of a heavy place. And so how can you use sound to express your emotions and to release emotions, particularly challenging ones, but also to create the positive emotions? If you have got anything from, we automatically do this, right? And I mentioned this in my on my online course. And if you know, I've got an envelope here. If I was to open this envelope and to accidentally give myself, God, I could have done that then, couldn't I? I accidentally give myself a paper cut. The first thing I do, go, ah. The first thing you do is make sound. If you stub your toe, you go, ow, right? Or maybe you let out a different word, which is what I normally do, right? But the first thing you do is make sound. Sound is one of nature's primary pain releases.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling pain on any level, physical, emotional, mental, if you give it a sound, you release it. You're not holding it in. Remember how we said about the most important thing is if you're going through something challenging, let someone know. It's, I mean, hands up, it's what I didn't do when I was stressed, and then when I was overwhelmed, and then when I was having my suicidal thoughts. You know, the number one thing I didn't do was tell anyone. And that's the number one thing that would have helped me more than anything, is sharing, asking for help, asking for what I needed. Right? What I did do, thankfully, which is part of the reason I only had thoughts and I didn't go to plans or actions, was I did have this sounding practice, which I used to release some of the pain. Now, sometimes that was crying, right? Other times it's, what does that feel like if you give that emotion a voice? So, for example, if you're feeling anxious about Christmas and you've just got all this anxiety bubbling up inside you and you don't know what to do with it, give it a voice. Make sounds, like whatever that. So I'm just trying to think of something that might make me anxious. I'm very rarely anxious, but let me just imagine. Oh, okay, I've got something. So that might sound like, oh, and then keep giving it a sound, keep letting that sound out. So that could be,
That sounds like my day. I need that sound.
So sound that sound, right? It's like, what if this emotion had a voice? What would it be? What would it sound like? And keep sounding it. That's the important thing. Keep sounding it, keep sounding it, keep sounding it, keep sounding it, until you feel like there's nothing left. And you're like, oh. And then, and here's the magic bit, because we don't want to leave ourselves in a depleted state. Then imagine if there was a sound that would soothe the emotion you'd been feeling. If there was a sound that would make that emotion feel cared for, feel listened to, what would that sound be? And I'm going to give you a general one here, which is ha, and just play on a lovely open ha. It's the heart note, it's the heart sound. This is a big part of the sound healing work that I do, which does get a little bit woo. I'm going to let you know that. But this is so ha, and just play on gentle notes.
Wow, it's relaxing hearing. It's soothing just to hear that.
So if you can't imagine a sound to then soothe, use the ha. The other thing I want to share with you, how to change the emotions that you're feeling, is through that ha, right? If you're feeling really just like you've released the challenging emotions and you can't bring yourself back, then either the ha or a ho or a he, and you repeat them faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. So I'm going to go with the ha because it's a universal healer sound, right? And you just go ha, 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 and then you end up laughing. So you can use the ho if you like, ho, 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 ho. So just repeating, and you do it on he as well, which is a higher note. He. And it's ridiculous, and it's so simple, but it's a way of changing your energy state that you have control of. Because very often the challenges in life come because we feel like we're not in control anymore. We feel like for example, everything that's going on around the world at the moment, right? We feel like, oh, the government's controlling me. We feel like my family is trying to control me. We feel like the system's trying to control me. We feel like my boss is trying to control me. We feel like Facebook is trying to control me. Very often when we have challenges, it's because we feel like someone else or something else is trying to control us. And this is a way that you can control the emotions that you're feeling. You can release them. You can change their state. And this is a big part of what helped me shift from where I was to really stepping in wholly to who I am now. So
Wow.
there you go. Hopefully that's been useful. I just need to cough. Excuse me.
It's given me a lot to think about, just in terms of, I don't know, I've spoken to so many people, and so many people are in difficult places for different reasons. Like for me personally at the moment, my dog needs surgery, and my dog's my baby. For anyone who knows me knows my dog is not a dog. That's the word humans use. My dog is my baby. So him having major surgery is just causing me a lot of personal upset at the moment.
Yeah.
Things going on with my dad, and there's been some friendship issues, and there's all these things going on all at once. I'm literally trying to ignore the fact that over there's all this societal upset, because I just feel like right now is not the time for me to be doing that as well. And others aren't doing that. They're not like, oh, I can only focus on this, and they're not kind of compartmentalizing it. So I feel like this sounds like a really useful tool, that the bits that you are going, right, I need to deal with this. This sounds like a great way to kind of
just manage those emotions in the moment. And this, it's not, you don't have to do it loud, right? You can do a quiet 15-second hum.
Could be quite funny in the middle of an argument.
That wasn't even 15 seconds. But in the middle of an argument, you just do the breath, right? So in the middle of an argument, you just literally take a physical step back and just go. It's why we sigh. So you will know if you are too stressed, because you will catch yourself sighing. If you catch yourself sighing all the time, you are too stressed. So then ask yourself, what is the thing that's stressing me? And then go, how can I manage this? And if you can't manage it, who do I know who can help me with this? And then ask, catch yourself here in stress before it builds to overwhelm, before it gets to suicidal thoughts or depression or wherever it takes you, or anxiety or wherever it takes you. If you catch yourself sighing a lot, you need to change a bit of your structure. Remember, it's not personal, it's structural. And a sigh is your body's structural way of telling you, or repeated sighs, that you're not coping because you're not breathing properly.
Wow. I just feel like this could help so many people, because everyone responds to different things, and there are definitely people, and I literally, that's why I asked you here today, was because when we were at that event, and because of everything going on, I was in a bit of a low mood that day, and when you got me doing those noises, my dogs were going crazy, and I could feel my energy going up, and I was like, I need to share this. So I'm so grateful.
It's been my absolute pleasure.
And you said that you're doing a sound gong with a generous discount. What's that?
I do, yes. So I've got my online self-study sound healing course. And if anyone watching this, if that sound work has resonated with you, pun intended, if it sounds good, but forgive me, that's it. That's my sounding pun. That's my dad humor done. No, but if that does sound like something you want to find out more about, I've got an online course. It's only £27 normal price, but I'm very aware that Transitions UK is for 15 to 25-year-olds. You might not have that money. Like 27 quid might be a whole week's something to you. So I'm doing 50% off. All you need to do is put it in the basket, and then in the coupon code, write the word transition.
Okay, that's
And that gives
amazing.
you 50% off. So you'll get it for £13.50. And that's open to anyone here. And the other thing I have, which I hadn't thought of, and if anyone's interested, you can get it on Kindle for, I don't know, it's about £5 on Kindle. This is a really basic introduction to coaching, right? So if you feel like you're going through life doing everything that you think other people think you should, and I mention this because there was a 19-year-old at an event that I spoke at a couple of years ago, and the year after I went to the same event, and her mum came up to me afterwards and said she had anxiety, she wasn't leaving the house, something changed, and I asked her what changed. She said, "Oh, Judith's book, it's changed my life." So there's like, oh my god, there's really simple exercises in here. It's, if you've liked my talking style, I write in my talking style. It's a little bit irreverent, but there are some really powerful, simple exercises in there that help you find your voice, help you go, actually, I don't want to should it, but it helps you make choices. Like, you know, oh well, I have to, I can't do this because I have to do that.
Yeah.
And then you can make a choice, and you actually, I do have to do that, but I don't have to do that. Like, I don't have to pay my rent. I could go out partying. But if I don't pay my rent, I might end up homeless. So what do I want more? Do I want to go out partying and waste my rent money, or do I want to pay my rent? So then you can turn that have to or that should into something that you want to do. And it just helps shift your energy around something, shift your perspective.
I mean, the other thing for us definitely is if there is any of our young people on our project who just can't afford it, I would highly recommend they get in touch with us, because we never let money be a barrier to individual and personalised support. To do, like, if anyone's watching this, you're on our project, so you would need to be on our project, get in touch with us. We don't want money to be a barrier, and we'll just see what we can do to support you. Maybe we can get it sponsored, and also there's all sorts of things we can try.
And you can always talk to me, Vanessa, and if I can do something, I will. So.
Oh, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you to everyone who was here live. Mary, Jasmine, Letitia, Jack, anyone else who might have watched this live. Thank you if you've been watching this on the replay. If you've got this far, it's been an hour. How's that happened?
It went quick.
So thank you so much. And I have a free meditation that happens on a Monday morning. Come and join that if you like. Everything you can
get some details out.
Everything you can find is at Your Whole Voice. So yourwholevoice.com, or my Insta page is at Your Whole Voice, and my Facebook page is facebook.com/yourwholevoice. So.
Well, I love meditation, so I will be at your next free meditation. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you, and it's been a pleasure. Any questions? If anyone needs anything, you know how to get hold of me. Okay, thank you, Judith. Bye. Bye.